you know that you pretty much have to win the next 5 games. If you lose one, you're going to need a lot of help to get into playoffs. What's your level of confidence that things can start going your way and that you can win these next 5 games in a row?
Yeah, well, I believe that. I mean, I believe you come if you're coming to me on this, Matt. I'm telling you, we're going to go after you every game, and that's how we roll. We're going to try to tickle your tonsils on every play, every game, and but that's the attitude that we're coming in with, and then that you let the chips fall where they may. But at the same time, you got to make sure you take care of the small things here that we've got rolling. We've got to make sure that we get rid of some of these mistakes. But there's not a game that I go into that I don't think we're going to get after you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Matt.
Everybody, I figured we better just go ahead and deal with the elephant in the room right off the bat. That was obviously Andy Reid's quote of the day on Monday to my question about his level of confidence that the Chiefs can win the last 5 games of the season and therefore make it into the playoffs without having to sweat too much. There you go. I'm interested in what all of you think about it. I know there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, the last 30 hours, I guess, or so of this. So I'm interested in what all of you think about what Andy Reid said in response to that, how you interpret it. I'm going to try to adjust my camera here a little bit. Still got a pretty good chunk of my forehead there, but you know what? We're going to live with it. Like I said, I'm interested in whatever all of you think. What Andy Reid said. Now, if you hadn't heard it yet, in its entirety, there you go. That's it. I'm gonna. I mean, I have some thoughts. I'll share them. I'm sure there's going to be some questions later, so I will deal with them as they come up if there's any particular aspects of it. But really, I'm truly curious about what all of you think and some of your feedback on where the Chiefs are, what's on your minds today. Obviously, there's a few things to talk about, and injuries are going to be one of them. This is a banged up Chiefs team, particularly on the offensive line. That is where the focus is going to be on Wednesday when the team was back into the building on Tuesday. I haven't heard or seen a whole lot what's been coming out of the building today. I think the majority, we might hear some few things tonight that maybe start to leak out, but otherwise I think the majority of it we'll probably hear on Wednesday. First thing we're going to hear is going to be from Andy Reid at about 11:45 Wednesday. His injury update, letting us know where everybody is. Obviously, the offensive line is going to be the primary focus there, figuring out what the situation is with Josh Simmons, finding out about Jawan Taylor. Obviously, an update on Trey Smith. Trey, I'm not expecting him to be available this week. It certainly, as initially sounded, was that this was going to be a multiple week injury that was going to keep him out. Whether everything else that's going on affects his thought process, the Chiefs' process, positively or negatively. I mean, that'll be the discussion of Wednesday to figure out where things are. Unless Andy Reid rules out anybody in or out on Wednesday, which would normally be a pretty extreme departure. Usually he at least tries to leave the door open a little bit as far as who could play and who might not play this week. Thursday, as always, is going to be a big deciding factor and will tell you a lot. If you don't practice on Thursday, the chances that you're going to play that week are pretty slim. If you're limited, there's a chance, but it's still not a completely a complete indicator. And then Friday, obviously, is another one. If you're the Chiefs, that just depends. Friday, if you don't practice on Friday, it's usually a pretty good indicator that you will not be practicing. But your mileage may vary. We know that it can be an adventure. So, I think that's most of the things that I had on my mind for this today. The Chiefs have not yet made any transactions this week, whether it's adding anybody else to the 53 or to the active roster. All of that, if anything happens, would start on Wednesday. So let's see what happens there. And let's dive into the questions and get going. I see there's already some tickling tonsil talk already, and I'll say that. And this, I noticed this last week, and I thought maybe it was just a temporary thing. I'm now looking into it to see. I know there's some different displays about people's names. Usually, I think it goes with whatever your preferred name is on YouTube, but for now, it's I think putting out your account names. I don't entirely know why that is. I don't know if it's. I thought at first that maybe it was just a StreamYard glitch. Now it looks like it's pretty much standard. So I'm looking around to see if there's something in the layout or anything. I may have to research that after the show because I think you all would prefer to have different names displayed. But we're gonna roll with it. And if I know your preferred name, I'll try and remember that. But let's go with Chief 94. I hope you're well. Hey, I hope you are as well as possible. Would Andy, as the head coach, intervene with Spags' defense? For instance, tell him to stop giving player X amount of snaps, or would he just leave him to it? That's a really good question, Chief 94. And I mean, there's obviously ways of going about that. I don't know that the Chiefs are. I don't think there's a lot of game playing. I mean, I think that Andy Reid's pretty blunt with his coaches about things. I mean, obviously, technically speaking, final call on the roster rests with Brett Veach. So, I mean, it's always going to be a case that Brett can put a guy off the roster if he doesn't think that somebody should be playing, or if Andy tells him that he doesn't want somebody on the roster. I don't think the Chiefs are that kind of organization, though. I think that Andy, especially with Spagnuolo and his defense, I certainly get the sense that he gives Steve a wide latitude, and as far as determining once players are in the organization, how they're deployed, who's on the roster, who's not. Certainly Brett Veach has a pretty wide latitude when it comes to, deciding the list of players who are going to be on the team. Certainly Spagnuolo has some impact there, but I've seen nothing to this point in covering this team, Chief 94, that would give me any indication whatsoever that Andy would ever go to Spags and say that he wants him to do or not do something, or in this case, to bench a player or not bench a player, unless it was a team issue, a disciplinary issue, anything of that nature. I could be surprised though, and it is interesting. I mean, I think you pose a really interesting question. But I certainly get the sense that Andy gives Spags the widest range of responsibilities whatsoever, and I haven't seen anything yet that would, to a point, cause Andy to rein that in at any point. And I think if he did, I think honestly it would be a conversation, just, hey, is this the best player for that situation? And are you giving, the best guys the snaps? And what's maybe your thought process about why this guy over that guy? Has it happened? I don't know. And I imagine those two guys are never going to tell us. But I think it is an interesting question, but I will say that I've had no reason to doubt that Spags, for the most part, has, as much as you'd like to say, 100% freedom. And I don't think that there's a lot of things that Andy Reid that has done and will do to step in and tell Spags, what to do or who to play. I think he leaves that up to him. And for all I know, maybe it's in the contract. Maybe that's something Spags is able to dictate, is to say, wait a minute, all of this is my responsibility, and you can't say anything about it. I mean, there are coaches who have things like that in their deals. So I don't know what the situation is there. I think, like I said, I think it's a great question. I wish I had a better answer for you, but I will say that based on everything that I have seen covering this team over the years, and certainly I've gotten the chance to cover all of the Spagnuolo era in Kansas City, my indication is that Andy Reid has given Steve Spagnuolo complete control of that defense, and there is nothing that will cause him to do anything differently. A couple of super chats, and actually saw them, and Jesus is not one of them, so I really wish that he had been so that I could make it up to him. But next thing after the super chats, Jesus, I'm going to scroll through and see if you have made a comment or a question, so you get a free one there. I think this is dog better, but can I bet that dog? We need 30 plus runs a game against this pass rush. You need to do something to slow down the pass rush. And if you can run the ball effectively against the Texans, that'd be a great way to do it. Throw some screens behind them. Maybe run some quick developing runs out of the backfield. Nothing that's going to cause Xavier Worthy to come to a complete stop and change directions. Yeah, don't disagree. You're going to have to come up with some ways to slow down this pass rush. Absolutely. Appreciate the super chat, bud. And Phil M. Cammett, I just feel like you are a regular that I'm just not making the connection there, but man, these names are throwing me. But appreciate the super chat. Great question here. Finally caught live. Yes. If Matt Nagy found himself not with the Chiefs next season, would John Gruden be an option with his relationship with Andy? Ooh, I mean, I think would be an interesting possibility. I don't know if that's what John Gruden wants to do at this point. Maybe he does. It would make sense, like you said, from a relationship standpoint. And obviously, Gruden came into camp last year and spent a lot of time with this team. So it makes sense from that standpoint. I will say this, though. I think that if Matt Nagy is not or will not be the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs next season, I mean, everybody seems to think the conventional wisdom is that if Matt Nagy is not the guy, then Mike Kafka is, assuming he does not get a head coaching job. And I'm assuming that he won't. I suppose there's always, an interesting scenario if, as some people suggest, Steve Spagnuolo is the next head coach of the New York Giants. Does Kafka stay? Is that something that makes sense for Spags? I mean, it would certainly make a lot of sense as far as having continuity for Jackson Dart, but then again, maybe you want a different approach with Jackson Dart. I don't know. I don't know what Spags thinks of Kafka, and I mean, it would have to depend on what obviously the Giants ownership wants too. But there's a lot of moving parts there. But I think fitting in with the Kafka conversation and speculation is that the Chiefs and Andy Reid wants to continue to get younger and wants to continue to get new voices in there. And would Gruden be a new voice? Certainly. Fresh voice, that would probably be debatable. And it certainly would be, I think it would. I don't know if it would go in the direction that the Chiefs and Andy Reid truly want to. I mean, if Andy Reid wants to kind of double down on his approach to the West Coast, I mean, Gruden, they're on the same branch. I mean, they both kind of come down. Hey, whether you want to say that Gruden is off the Andy Reid tree or that they're just both off the. Why am I Mike Holmgren branch of the West Coast offense? I mean, they're kind of together in that sense. So I think, and even Kafka, I mean, once again, kind of being in that Andy Reid, Matt Nagy kind of branch, is that even the fresh approach that you want? I don't know, but hey, Mike, John Gruden is a fantastic football mind. I mean, he still has that. I just, like I said, I don't know what his mindset is. I don't know if he wants to have something that's as, administrative as an offensive coordinator job is. I'm sure he would love to be a head coach again. I just don't know if he wants to go back to being an OC, but maybe an OC for Andy would be something that makes sense. Appreciate the question. Nice super chat. Thank you. Chris, is Andy Reid burned out? I don't think he is. I don't think he's burned out on coaching. There's times that he looks tired, and that he is, because this has been a rough season. It's been a long year. I actually feel like it seems like he's lost a little bit of weight recently, which, I mean, that's when big guys like us lose weight. It's always a good thing. And there's days like today, Monday, when I thought, he seemed like he was in a pretty good mood, and pretty light, and I just think everybody gets tired in the NFL season, and when you're I think I'm trying to always run remember 67, 68 like Andy is. It's going to get to even more, but I don't think he's burned out. I mean, I certainly get the sense that he still loves what he's doing and enjoys doing it. And I mean, if that's the lead to the question, is Andy Reid burned out and therefore, might retire this season? I would be knocked over with a feather if that happened. I would be very surprised to see it. Jimmy always has a great suggestion, and there's another one. Since I haven't asked anybody to hit the like button, I will let Jimmy order you to do it. I truly appreciate that. You all are the best looking out for me, so I truly appreciate that. Neo Thomas, what do you think will be the main theme or themes from this season if the Chiefs miss the playoffs in the front office? And trying to read themes. I think you're maybe talking about, I mean, what will be the kind of the storylines out of this? What will be the changes in the front office? I'm thinking that's kind of where you're going. If you had a different line, Neo, let me know, but I'll kind of start in that direction and everything. I mean, the Chiefs missed the playoffs. There's going to have to be some hard thinking and analysis in the entire building. I mean, the coaching staff, front office for sure. And, so what's Brett Veach? I mean, I think Brett will absolutely put some of it on himself. I mean, he's going to know that he made a couple of mistakes in putting this roster together, and certainly maybe didn't respond to things that he knew and his staff knew, and maybe the way that they should have or wanted to. I do think that they made a conscious decision to protect future assets at the risk of trying to improve this season's roster. That was a choice. And I don't necessarily think it was the wrong choice. I mean, whether or not they thought it this way and was the way that they discussed it. But let's face it. I mean, trading a 3rd round pick for Breece Hall, a 3rd round pick is something that should give you 4 years of productive play. So was it worth it to trade 4 years of a productive play impact for a half season of a player with maybe the opportunity to sign them long-term and then spend a lot of money? I mean, to me, the only way that truly, considering what the Chiefs are and their building process and development process of putting together a team, the only thing that made sense would be that if you were going to trade for Breece Hall was because you have the intention of keeping him long-term. Because otherwise, giving up 4 years of a productive player, where you're much better off with 4 years of a productive player in the future than half a year of Breece Hall now. So I mean, I get it. If that was their rationale and their thinking, I completely sign off on that. That's logical. But I also know that this organization knew back last, in the summer, even before training camp in May and June, that they had holes at defensive line, defensive end, defensive tackle, at cornerback, at running back, and those were all positions that they wanted to shore up and make better, and not sure that they did. I mean, I will tell you that they did not. Maybe they made a wrong choice in March. They obviously had their choices of some different running backs. They weren't looking to spend a lot of money, but you can go back and look at all the contracts that were signed. There were a handful of running backs that signed in that ballpark of Elijah Mitchell and the money that he signed for. They could have gone some different directions. Would those have been better directions? Well, some yes, some no. I mean, if you'd signed J.K. Dobbins, you wouldn't have J.K. Dobbins most likely right now. I mean, granted, I mean, things, butterflies' wings and all that can change things, but just assume that, hey, if the body was ready to give out and his foot was ready to get it out, it was going to give out. So maybe that works out the same way. They made some small moves, and I know, like I said, I know Brett Veach would not like me saying small moves because he doesn't think any move's a small move, but they made a couple of moves to try to address defensive line, but none of them really moved the needle. And the moves that they made to try to address cornerback and free agency back in March didn't work out the way they wanted. So, I mean, I think it's definitely notable that they at least, like I said, I mean, they seem to make a conscious decision to focus on the future long term with keeping draft picks than throwing picks at the problem. And was that the right move? Did it affect this year? Probably. But again, I think there's probably also a reasonable point to be made, which is that those moves wouldn't have necessarily significantly changed the needle of this season. So, does a different cornerback keep a pass from being dropped on offense? No. Does a different running back do that? No. I mean, some of your mistakes you're still going to make. Are you still going to get the same, penalties on your offensive line? Yeah. Are you still going to get the same penalties on defense? Are you going to get the same defensive pass interference calls? Yeah. I mean, but the only thing you can say is that if you just didn't make the moves that you did, or you went a different direction, sure. I mean, that's also, if maybe you went a different direction than Christian Fulton, maybe things would have worked out differently. But I mean, I think that kind of then, goes into the, are there going to be any repercussions and changes in the front office? Yeah, probably. And there might be some guys who leave of their own volition. They're going to get opportunities elsewhere, and maybe that's an opportunity to go in a different direction as well. Can I say that there's anybody's jobs on the line? I don't know. I certainly don't get a sense that there's a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot of self-analysis that the front office and Veach is going to be the one responsible for that, to say, look, there were some, incorrect decisions made that were on us, and we can't do that again. I think there'll certainly be some of that thinking, but I don't know if there's a scapegoat. I don't feel like that there's anyone there in that spot, but I think that's, and once again, I don't even want to use the word scapegoat, but I think there's certainly going to be, on both the player and the coach side of things, that's where there will be the analysis of, okay, wait a minute, what happened in 2023 or 2024? What happened in that Super Bowl against the Eagles? What didn't get fixed from 2024 and that Super Bowl against the Eagles? And where's the accountability? That's where I think that will be probably the main theme of this offseason, and that's where I think there'll be a lot of discussion. Obviously, just media and fan-driven discussion, but I mean, the team's going to have to address it at some point, because those are going to be the questions. Into the season press conference, there will be some questions about that for Brett and Andy, and when they make their next appearance, which is usually at the Combine in Indianapolis, there's going to be some of those questions there too. And once we get into free agency in March, addressing, I mean, it's going to be a common theme. Is how did the Chiefs respond to the problems that they had this year? How did they address them? And what's it look like going forward? I'm DeBrown. Do you think Veach's early success makes it harder to make the right moves going forward? Is this Jerry Jones, the GM 2.0? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I get, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know if even after all this, I mean, let's face it, this is going to be, I know, he took over in 2017, but that wasn't his draft year. So really 7-8 years, as the GM, I mean, you do have a pretty good idea, I guess, at this point, about what kind of a GM that Brett Veach is, although I do think that he has kind of evolved a little bit. So I'm not sure that he's the exact same guy that he was, say, for the 2018 draft as he is now. I think he's learned from some of the mistakes that they made then. And I think he probably, at the time, even acknowledged some of the mistakes and knew what some of the things that they were doing, walking into, were traps. But then again, I mean, they were traps that were kind of set up. I mean, you go into 2018 without any pass rushers and no first round pick. That's a recipe for disaster. And Brett Veach knew it, and he's never wanted to go in that situation again. I mean, he's had the philosophy that, you want to have a competitive team before you go into the draft, so that you're not drafting for immediate need. You're drafting for future needs, and you're drafting to supplement your team, and you're not looking for a starter. And then they've had some of those problems. Obviously, they've had, that's why they're trying to address left tackle this year. So I think he's evolved a little bit as a GM. The question is, what are his weaknesses as a GM? And at one point, I think I would have said that he had maybe I mean, I guess I won't compare it to Dorsey, because I think Dorsey had a little quicker trigger on his draft picks. Now, hey, there will be people who will tell you that their argument is that, John Dorsey maybe his weakness in Kansas City was giving contracts to players that he drafted that maybe he shouldn't have given extensions to. Whereas he hesitated giving extensions to guys that he didn't draft. True or not, that's been some of the criticism of Dorsey. With Veach, I think there's a legitimacy that he takes too long to maybe move on from draft picks that haven't worked out or need a fresh start. I think that's kind of been a recurring theme. So that's something that they got to work on. But I guess, and I say this as, kind of growing up, the Cowboys were and the Chiefs were my two teams that I've rooted for. So I even rooted for the Cowboys for a long time, and I still follow the Cowboys pretty closely. Follow the Cowboys more closely than probably follow other NFL teams outside Kansas City, obviously. So I don't think I think I see where you're getting from. I think what your comparison is, is he going to be turning into, hey, Jerry had the right coach, he had the right system, and then decided that, hey, wait a minute, this is easy, I can do it myself, and it doesn't matter who the coach is or all these things, and that he knows everything, and he's just going to put together a team that is just going to, be average to above average every single year for the most part. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Brett's a smart guy. I think he's an aggressive guy. I think it's granted, it's going to be hard to build a team around Patrick Mahomes and the money that you're going to have to continue to pay him. And it's going to change a lot. That's going to be kind of the really big next era of the Chiefs. It's going to be, what do you look like when you don't have Travis Kelce and you're not paying him a bunch of money and you're not paying Chris Jones a bunch of money? How does your team then look when you're truly your big superstar is Patrick Mahomes and you don't maybe have any other superstars? Maybe Josh Simmons becomes a superstar. Maybe you consider Creed Humphrey a superstar now. I guess I could consider he's the best center in the league, but centers and guards are not usually your superstars. But who's going to be their next pass rushing superstar? Is it going to be George Karlaftis? Because at this point, we don't have any evidence to say that. So I'm interested to see what the future is going to be like. I mean, I think Brett still has a lot of his future in front of him. And I'm going to see how interesting he evolves, because I do feel like that he has evolved over the last 7-8 years. And I don't think he's set in stone. So I think he's going to continue to change and evolve over the years. But great question, Brown. I mean, once again, I pontificated and probably put myself in a 3-hour mode, but I thought it was a good question. So I just went from there. All right. Kevin, Matt, how can anyone think this defense can stop anyone on the road in the playoffs? Chiefs can ill afford to punt more than one time. It is interesting just how much that the challenges that this defense has had have kind of just unfolded over the season. Now, granted, I think a little bit of that obviously is just, hey, every team's a little bit different. So once teams got some film on this defense and kind of figured out where the weaknesses were, they have kind of figured out how to attack it. And once teams made that adjustment, I'm not sure that the Chiefs of defense and Spags have entirely made the adjustment back. That's going to be a big part of the next 5 games and postseason, is if there is any postseason, is how the Chiefs do kind of respond to what teams are doing against this defense now. Because I mean, you're right. The numbers don't lie. I mean, the Chiefs' pass defense is not good on the road. They're decent at home, and the overall numbers for this team are kind of skewed a little bit just based on, one, how good they have been at home, a little bit by the Raiders game. I'm not a huge buy-in to the idea that, oh, well, the Raiders game just skews all the numbers. It skews some of the numbers, but not all of them. But even if you throw that game out, the evidence still supports the conclusion that the Chiefs are a decent to good run defense and defense at home, or pass defense and defense at home, and they're below average on the road. And I mean, it makes a little bit of sense because obviously Arrowhead is a tremendous advantage for the Chiefs, home field advantage. And we've seen it many times this year that teams coming to Arrowhead have more penalties than they do when teams are at home against the Chiefs, especially false starts and those kind of things. And you can see the timing that teams get being disrupted and their communications disrupted. All of that is legit. I mean, that's not just a subjective evaluation. You can actually quantify that in the numbers. So, I mean, Chiefs are a better defense. So you're right. I mean, I think that the advantages that the Chiefs could have in the postseason, at least looking at how the postseason looks like it's going to set up right now, which I do think is interesting because you look at it and the four seeds, the top four seeds, could end up being with their quarterbacks, Drake May, Bo Nix. I mean, I'm still thinking, I don't think it's going to be the Colts. I think Jacksonville is going to win the South. And hey, who's going to win the North? I mean, it could be Aaron Rodgers. It could be, I think it could be Lamar Jackson. I don't guess it's not going to be the Bengals, although they're close to playing themselves back into this, the way that division's going. That division, I mean, I'm assuming 9-8 is going to win it, but 8-9 might end up pulling that thing off and just really ticking people off. But either way, I mean, that team is going to be a flawed team. Even if the quarterback that wins that division is Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, or Joe Burrow. And Trevor Lawrence been, if those, let's give it to Baltimore's in the lead right now. So let's give it to them. Let's go with the four teams. Your quarterbacks are Drake May, Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, and Lamar Jackson. I'm only scared of one of those quarterbacks. I'm a little scared of New England, period, just because I do think that Mike Vrabel's a really good coach. They have also had a dreadful schedule this year. So I don't know entirely how good they are. I mean, they lost to the Raiders in week 1, and their best win since then, Buffalo, was a good win, but that was in week 5. I mean, since then, they've beaten New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, the Jets, the Bengals without Joe Burrow, and the Giants. The toughest game in there at Tampa Bay. I mean, that's the toughest game in that list. And again, that's a good win, but it's nothing. I was talking with someone, a couple of people with this today. They're bigger on Drake May than I am. I don't necessarily know that Drake May is a bad quarterback. He might end up being really, really good, and we'll see what happens here. I mean, New England's got Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, and the Dolphins, whoever is quarterbacking Week 18, ahead of them. So I just think that if the Chiefs are one of the 7 teams in the playoffs, here's the thing. The best quarterback in any game that the Chiefs play will be Patrick Mahomes. And oftentimes playoff games come down to the quarterback. So if you're asking me who's going to win between Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes and Bo Nix. I mean, I think I would still put money on Bo Nix or Patrick Mahomes rather the second time around. Patrick Mahomes and Drake May. I mean, I still think that's, I don't know how Drake May is going to, perform in a playoff game if he's a number 1 seed, with young guys and experienced guys, and maybe they're going to get it done. I mean, maybe this is a year that we will see that it's a young, well-coached team with an affordable quarterback wins the Super Bowl. Wouldn't be the first time. So it's entirely possible. But I mean, how did the Chiefs get into the playoffs, Kevin, and make a run? It's that way, that they end up with having the best quarterback on that day, and Patrick Mahomes carries them. But you're right. I mean, I have some concerns about this defense, and and it's going to be worse if it is a quarterback who has a good day that day against that Chiefs defense. So that's where I share your concerns. I certainly see where you're going with that. I was going to say, and here's I should have pointed that out, Scott, because I think that's a great point, which is that Bo Nix has beaten the Chiefs. Who was the other one? I'm thinking, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, but here's the thing: the Jaguars are not beating the Chiefs a second time in the playoffs. I just don't think that's happening. I still don't entirely understand how that first game happened, but it did. I mean, unless the Chiefs just really tank out, but if they're in the playoffs They're going to Jacksonville. I mean, I consider them 90% to win that game. Bo Nix. I mean, I still think that the Chiefs would be a better team in the playoffs than Bo Nix is. But and granted, I mean, maybe I'm overrating Mahomes, maybe I'm underrating some other guys, but that's where, like I said, I feel like that, you can beat Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, but it doesn't mean you're beating him in the playoffs. And it certainly is one of those things where if you've beaten Patrick Mahomes once in the regular season, it certainly doesn't mean you're beating him twice in the same season. That's a little bit more difficult. So Folkestone, CJ Stroud versus good blitz. Thoughts on seeing more stunts as analyzed by Seth Kaiser of KCSN. Seth's the smart guy, so I'm never going to disagree with Seth. But no, I mean, and this is something that I did say to Seren Petra earlier today on 810. Or actually, I may have been over on Locked On Chiefs. I've had too many media appearances. This is my media appearance day, so I apologize if you're worn out by me already. But this is one of the things I mentioned, Sandy, is that the Chiefs pass rush has got to do some things that other teams haven't seen. They've got to do some things that haven't been on film, some things that are unscouted that Spags can throw at them. And so, hey, running a few more stunts. I mean, yeah, trying to, go after CJ Stroud in some different ways and put some pressure on him. Good idea. I mean, the Chiefs are going to blitz. So, I mean, that's what Spags does, but teams are picking up on it. I mean, you saw it against the Cowboys. You saw it against the Broncos. Teams have seen some of their blitzes, especially with Shamari Connor and Trent McDuffie, who are two of their favorite guys to blitz. I mean, teams, the book is out. Teams know that those two guys are blitz candidates, and so they're accounting for them. And that's, I mean, the Chiefs fell victim to it, a couple of games ago. We get the Broncos, that you blitz somebody who is not a typical blitzer, you can surprise some teams. So now, granted, I mean, the Chiefs will blitz almost with anybody, but I would love to see Leo Chanel playing a little bit more on the line and on the ball and going after Stroud a little bit, whether it's lined up outside or anywhere, blitzing from a linebacker spot. I'm cool with any and all of that. Even if you wanted to do kind of a 3-4 look a little bit and bring in Leo, but just only have three guys on the line and Leo and maybe somebody else coming off a blitz. I mean, anything that you're doing that's different than what you've done, because I think teams, like I said, the book is out. Teams have figured out what the Chiefs are doing because their blitzes have not been as effective as the season has gone on. So I think you gotta mix things up. And so, I mean, doing some things that are out of character or doing things that are a little bit more complicated against the rookie quarterback. Now, you are not a rookie, but he's third-year quarterback. But just doing things that are a little bit different that he hasn't maybe seen on film and some things that can trip him up, I'm all for it. So good ideas. Chris, thoughts on the Kiffin debacle with Ole Miss and LSU? And surprisingly, I have not talked with Nick about this. But I mean, is anybody surprised? I mean, Lane Kiffin has only left one job, I guess, peacefully. I guess. I mean, they were like setting fire to the campus when he bailed on Tennessee. USC couldn't chase him out of town fast enough. Everybody seems to either when Lane Kiffin leaves town, it's because everybody's chasing him out of town because of how much and how bad he's been, or they're chasing him out of town because they don't like him anymore and they've turned because he's burned the bridge. Nobody burns bridges like Lane Kiffin. And I mean, I go back to every time one of these things happens and the relationship goes up in flames, I still go back to 2008 when Al Davis fired him with the overhead projector, listing out all the reasons and the letter that he sent, to Lane Kiffin, telling him everything that he was doing wrong and calling him a professional liar and a con man. And I mean, that was if you have never seen that, go search for, not right now, obviously, but after the live stream, go search for Al Davis, overhead projector, Lane Kiffin, and you will have like, you can skip through it. I think it's like 40-50 minutes. It was a long press conference, but you can hit the highlights. But that was a moment of glory. So I mean, anytime that Lane Kiffin goes somewhere, you know that departure is going to be amazing. And I think it's even more amazing that the governor of Louisiana got involved and they fired the athletic director of LSU because of how big of a payoff that they owed Brian Kelly. And now they've like guaranteed up front everything for Lane Kiffin and basically can't fire him with cause. It's amazing. I mean, because Lincoln was fired with cause by the Raiders. I mean, Al Davis was like, we're not giving this dude a dime. And I don't believe that they ever did. I mean, I think they kept all their money, and those are my recollection. And that's why I say, I mean, I'm just waiting because when he gets fired by LSU, and he's going to get fired by LSU, they expect, national championships every single year. And, he's eventually going to go to 10-3 or something, and they're going to run him out of town. So I would not take that job. I would not take Auburn job, because those fan bases have just unreasonable expectations. But it's going to be fun. I mean, every time Lane Kiffin gets blown out somewhere, it ends up being really, really entertaining, as long as you're not one of the two schools or teams involved. So Scott, if you had a choice of A, the Chiefs squeak into the playoffs and lose early, or B, just miss altogether and finally get high enough to draft a legit defensive tackle. I mean, in that scenario, Scott, you're kind of high enough either way to get a decent defensive tackle. I mean, if you lose in the wild card round, you're still going to be, let's see. I mean, so 18 teams don't make the playoffs, so you're going to be 19-22. You're at 19-22. You're getting somebody that you love. I mean, for the most part, it's. We always talk about, I mean, teams usually have 15 to 18 players that they've got first round grades on, and some teams are going to take some guys that you don't have a first round grade on. You've got a second round grade. So, I mean, Trent McDuffie trading up to get him what 22, 23. I'm trying to remember his draft pick, but that's a great example. I mean, first round player, the Chiefs have a grade on. They, if somebody you like falls to that spot, you can go get them if you want to. It's just, sometimes it's, whether or not that player falls to where you want him to. But going from 20, and honestly, I mean, the Chiefs sneak into the playoffs and they lost in the divisional or wild card round, they might be 19. So that wouldn't be a terrible place to be. I don't think 19 versus 15 is a huge leap. So I will always want to be in the playoffs, Scott. I mean, I just want the chance, especially if Mahomes is your quarterback, you want the chance, because it's, you can be the 7 seed and you can win a Super Bowl. I mean, it can happen. I mean, is this team going to win a Super Bowl? I don't know. I couldn't tell you right now who's going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, the Rams and the Patriots would probably be the favorites with most people. And I would be absolutely satisfied if you'd give me the field, because there's a pretty good chance, probably a more than 50% chance, that it's going to be some team from either one of those two. So, I mean, this year in particular is such a weird situation. So we'll see what happens. But I'm always going to want my team to make the playoffs because I want the chance. I mean, if my team doesn't make the playoffs, I'm ticked off. So. I get it, and honestly, here's the thing. I mean, it's the good organizations that don't overreact. So if you're I'm going to brace you all for this. I mean, just because if the Chiefs miss the playoffs, I mean, there's going to be accountability. There's going to be some turnover. There's going to be some changes because, I mean, granted, this is going to be the moment that the Chiefs are like, okay, this era is over. Now it's time to really kind of turn the page to the next era where you get a lot younger. So they're going to walk away from some people and make some decisions. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to walk away from a Chris Jones yet, because it doesn't necessarily make them sense with money wise. And there's going to be some other players. I mean, they're walking away from Juwan. I mean, there's some decisions that they will make that maybe they wouldn't make had they made a deep run in the playoffs, but it's not going to be dramatic. And it's not necessarily even going to be dramatic in the coaching staff and the front office. I mean, good organizations don't overreact. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to overreact, But like I said earlier, I mean, they're certainly going to look at what went wrong in 24 and were those things fixed in 25, or were those continuing to be a problem? And there's a few things that you're going to say went wrong in 24 and were continuing to be a problem in 25. And those are the things that you got to fix. But I mean, it would be great if the Chiefs could, get somebody that they've got a legitimate first round grade on, because Trent McDuffie's probably the last one. Last one before that, Patrick. I mean, that's the last one, legitimately. And obviously that cost him a first round, couple of first round picks to go get. So yeah, I mean, it's been a while. And then before that, probably Marcus Peters in 25 or 15 rather, 2015. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since this team's had like a legit first round pick, and defensive tackle would be a good place to go because they need the next guy that's going to be replacing Chris. And I like Omar Norman a lot. Not sure from what we've seen so far if he's that dude, but if you get that dude next to another dude, that could work out. So appreciate it, Scott. Let's see. Jimmy's, I actually had this conversation before. I'm sure if the Chiefs fall to 6 and 7, I can't imagine the jokes and the hilarity that will be going on and the memes and all of this. So I kind of want them not to lose this week just for that alone. But I know you can already write most of the material, Jimmy's. I know it. Yeah, I mean, hey, Lateral, the one thing that Chiefs do have going for them this week is that I mean, Texans offense is not scary. Texans defense is scary. Our offense isn't scary, but hey, if the Chiefs offense can beat the Texans defense, that's all you got to do to win this game. Not that hard, right? One simple thing. Just beat the Texans defense. You're good. Jimmy's, I assume that was when I was telling you, complimenting you for giving me. Yeah, I always loved your question, Jimmy. You're a good dude. And here's I saw this earlier. I wanted to bring it up, even though I guess you put question marks in there. So why are we getting crickets from Veach? Really, because this is how it works. Last year the Chiefs broke the mold and they did make Brett Veach available to us mid-season. Now, the biggest reason for that is because they had the best record in the NFL, and it was like part of the campaign to try and campaign him for GM of the year. So it was like, hey, let's get Brett out there and see if we can't get some pub and everything, and get his name out there, and maybe finally, because he's deserved. I mean, honestly, when you've won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, you deserve some accolades, and he's deserved GM of the year. Andy Reid's deserved Coach of the Year on a couple of occasions, and neither one of them has gotten him. So I'm not just bashing on the Chiefs at all. It was a smart thing to do. I mean, wish it had worked because he deserved it. I mean, at some point, if you're gonna. It may not have been his best GM job, but if you're going to be 15-2 and have the best record in the league, you ought to get an award for it from somebody. When all they seem to do is give the award to Kevin Stepanek for Coach of the Year every 2 or 3 years. I know that's not his last name, but Stepanek. I think Stepanek. There's like, I know it's not. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about Stipovich back in Mizzou days. There's somebody, Stepanek, that is making me think that. So I don't know. I guess I'm losing my mind. The old brain fog coming into the show. But we don't usually hear from Brett Veach during the season. I mean, he just usually doesn't do any, he's not required to, by the rules. There's some GMs that talk a lot more than Brett does. But he's not required to do a press conference during the season. We usually hear from him like when the Chiefs qualified for the playoffs or at the end of the season, but usually I believe it's when they clinch the playoffs that usually we hear from Brett and from Clark Hunt. Clark usually does like a mid-season thing, and I think he did something with some writers on the road a couple of weeks ago. So but it's not, like I said, last year was kind of an aberration when the Chiefs, put Brett out there for some mid-season media, but usually we don't hear from him until, late in the season when a playoff spot's been clinched, the season's over. So, the the next press conference Brett has will be interesting. Scott, you mentioned Spags to the Giants possible. Your question is, if he does Dave Merritt go with him to get closer to his family? And that's I mean, questions like that have come up, but and really, I mean, the thing that's kind of kept Dave Merritt here has been his family. I think his daughter is still in high school. Obviously, his son is going to Nebraska. So there's probably more things, honestly, for Dave Merritt, that if family is still going to be part of his job decision. I wouldn't be surprised if he, stayed in Kansas City. I mean, I'm sure that the Chiefs would still love to have him. He's been a great coach for them. Even though the defensive back group has had some struggles this year. I'm not entirely sure that they're Merritt's fault, but I would still trust him with young talent. And honestly, they haven't given him a ton of talent of late. I mean, I guess he's done a great job of taking, 6th and 7th round draft picks and turning them into productive players. But I think Nick Jones was a 6th round pick. So, I mean, late day 3 picks. I mean, they gave him Noel Williams, and I think he's done a good job with Noel Williams so far. I mean, there's still some development to do there, but obviously he's done well with what he's been given. He just hasn't had a lot of draft picks or high draft picks, certainly not, first and second day draft picks the last few years. And, and Trent McDuffie, I think he's turned him into about the best player that he possibly can. So, I mean, whether Spags was here or not, I would want Dave Merritt with my defense, and he would certainly be a candidate for the secondary, or excuse me, a candidate to replace Spags. Him, Brendan Daly, Antonio Pierce would probably end up being in DC somewhere, either in New York or Kansas City in that scenario. Joe Cullen would probably be a candidate, but I think Daly and Merritt would probably have a better chance, and it could be somebody outside the organization. But I think even if Spags wasn't here next year because he got the Giants job, Scott, I think there's a reasonable chance that Merritt would stay, but you never know. But I appreciate the good question, though. Let's see where. Looking at some of the discussion. Once again, always a great discussion in the comments. I like it. Paul, there was a question mark popping up. If this season continues like it has, what percentage would you put on major staff changes? If the Chiefs miss the playoffs, I think you'd have to feel like your confidence, of changes would be 90%. So, I mean, there would certainly be some changes if that's the case. If they don't make the playoffs, I mean, there's going to have to be some accountability, and hey, whether it's actually guys, getting fired or terminated, or contracts not renewed, or they take another job somewhere else. I mean, that's sometimes you help guys find jobs somewhere else so that you don't have to fire them. I certainly think that you would see some changes on the coaching staff. Could be, retirements. They've got a couple of coaches that are getting older and might be ready to move on. Might have some coaches that are ready for the next step. So, if they're not going to be defensive coordinator here, maybe, or offensive coordinator here, maybe they want to move on to somewhere else. There's some things that the Chiefs do need to figure out, and some of those, again, maybe they're reshuffling of the deck. Nothing against Todd Pinkston. I think Todd Pinkston would make a great wide receivers coach. Seems like a really good dude, and I know he knows a lot about being a wide receiver. I just can't imagine what it's like coaching running backs for the first time in your career and doing it at the NFL level. And I think the Chiefs honestly could use a more experienced running backs coach. And that's not to pick on Todd, because honestly, like I said, I would move Todd to another position. So I'd find a way to make him a wide receivers coach, it's one way or another. If you're working with Connor Embry, or you shuffle Connor to a different job, Joe Blameyer is like pass game coordinator. He's ready to be an offensive coordinator. Maybe he gets that shot here or somewhere else. There can be some shuffling, sometimes not even guys leaving the organization, but and maybe if you're shuffling the chairs a little bit, maybe not what would qualify as major staff changes. But I still think that there's a pretty high confidence. I think it's still better than 50% that you see some coaching changes on this coaching staff, because I think that's just a natural response to when you miss the playoffs, and especially when you have a Super Bowl loss the way the Chiefs did, and then the fact that they haven't really bounced back from that loss the way that you hope so. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs, 90% confident that there will be some coaching staff changes. Even if they make the playoffs, like I said, I'd say at least 50% confident there's going to be some. So I think that's at least my way of saying that I think there's going to be some changes in the offseason. Was I trying not to say Wanye, Pete? It's possible. I mean, and again, Wanye's a good dude. I like Wanye. I think he's probably a better right tackle than he is a left, and probably a better guard than he is a tackle. But injury-wise, you're getting close to the possibility that there's just not anybody else. I mean, Wanye may be playing. He might be starting on Sunday if you don't have any other options. So, yeah, 7. Let's see. Oh, Pete, 7 bargain bin running backs instead of 2 legit running backs. I mean, the Chiefs do have a lot of running backs, but I mean they've put themselves in that position kind of a couple of ways. I mean, I guess 3 ways. I mean, one, you could say that they just haven't, since Clyde, they have not committed substantial draft resources to the position. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, they've committed a 7th round draft pick to the running back room since they took Clyde in 2020. So 5 years and 1 7th round pick. If I remember correctly, if I'm missing somebody, let me know. But a lot of free agents and undrafted free agents, and I mean in this day and age, I mean you can find lightning in a bottle running backs in just about anywhere. But again, if you're going to get guys that are multiple year players and 1,000-yard running backs and all of these things, you're usually going to have to commit some resources to it, whether it's draft picks or money. And that's something that the Chiefs haven't done, and it has cost them. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not saying you need to take a 1st round draft pick on a running back, and I'm not saying you need to go out and spend $20 million on one, but you're going to have to commit a little bit of resources, whether it's a draft pick, whether it's money, something. But you're right. You right now, hey, Pacheco and Kareem, I'd be happy with either one of them as a backup running back. But they're not really, truly starting playoff team caliber running backs right now. I mean, that's tough truth, but it's kind of the reality of where we are. Jimmy's, you can't adjust for lack of size, bulk, and girth on the D line, Matt. Come on, man. Has Nick taught you anything? You can't coach size, and the Chiefs are light and get pushed around, period. It's not hard. Oh, you don't need to convince me of that. I mean, the fact that the Chiefs, I mean, their only truly legitimate NFL caliber nose tackle that they've had this decade has been Mike Pennell. And I mean, Mike Pennell is one of the more unusual players in NFL history. I mean, there's some dudes like that, but the fact that, I mean, Mike is still, for this team, a reasonably productive player. I mean, not like a superstar or anything like that. And I mean, he's he's at least an average replacement level player at 33 and going on 34, I think it is. I don't think he could be 34 already. I feel like he's got 34 coming up, but I could be wrong. But that's the dude. I mean, they drafted Keandre Coburn, who seems to have validated why was not kept in Kansas City and why Tennessee was able to sign him off the practice squad, because he's like on 5 teams in 3 years. So apparently there's a reason why. But no, I mean, do the Chiefs need a 330-pound, dude that can just wreck the inside, especially as a run defender? Yeah, I mean, especially since they got Omar Norman lot, and I still don't know. I would love to be able to get the juice to really tell you what went on there, what happened to make Omar think that he was supposed to put on 20 pounds, whether he was really told that or it was a misunderstanding or what, or the Chiefs told him that and then they realized that was not the right move. I don't know. It did not help him this season because that dude, if he's an interior pass rusher like 305, and that's what he needs to be. And honestly, he'd probably be even better if he were, more Chris Jones size, more like 295. He'd probably be even better. But he's not going to be a 330-pound interior guy that's going to just eat space and destroy people. I mean, they need one of those dudes. And they haven't had one in a long time. I mean, like I said, Mike Pennell's been their best, but he probably has to go back to at least Dontari Poe before they've had one of those dudes for sure. And I mean, as far as like a run defender, Mike DeVito might be the last guy to talking about being one of those guys. But no, I mean, if the Chiefs, no, Jimmy, I'm totally on board. If the Chiefs could get you because you don't need an Aaron Donald. I mean, you're hoping that Omar Norman Lott can be your interior pass rusher, but you need a mountain man in the middle that can just take up 2 or 3 guys blocks that can every once in a while just absolutely blow up a run play. You got to have that. And they haven't had that in a long time. And that would certainly change everything on the defensive line. It would help the pass rush too if they had somebody like that, and would help Chris Jones or whomever else, because Chris hasn't had that really next to him, except for Mike Pennell. I mean, that's been the best dude he's had that he could really play off of. And I mean, like I said, Mike's a good dude, but I keep saying everybody's a good dude. I got to knock that off. That's like my crutch tonight. But I mean, there's a chance first round pick, you can find a better guy than that. There's some legitimate defensive tackles in this league that would obviously fit what the Chiefs need, but they can find one in the draft. Go for it, because those guys are difference makers. Brandon, at what point have you had enough with Andy Heck? O-line cannot block stunts or win 4 versus 5. I mean, Nick and I've had this conversation for a while, and I thought it was interesting. I wasn't trying to be defensive or anything like that. I was mostly just being quiet early in the season when everybody was pretty happy with the offensive line play, because it was just like, let's see what happens at the end of the season. And then we're kind of back to, same people kind of feeling things about the offensive line. And it's the same old things, Brandon. I mean, it's the same things we saw last year in the Super Bowl, and there hasn't been a lot that's changed. So I do think that's going to, I mean, Andy Reid said it that back at the combine in March, that there's got to be accountability and guys have to step up. And I don't think he was entirely talking about players. I think he was talking about coaches too. And if your position group didn't get better in 25 than it was in 24, you're going to be on the hot seat. And so, I'll be interested to see what happens. I don't know, Brandon, your mileage may vary, but we'll see. There you go. Your mileage may vary of the night. Jimmy's possibly the worst cornerback performance since Eric Warfield in 03 from McDuffie. Yeah. Okay. I'm done. It was a bad game and a bad matchup. I do think that was probably one of the toughest games I've seen Trent McDuffie play. Wasn't his best outing. And I mean, and I'll say it. I mean, that's the one worry about this Texans offense this week, is that the Chiefs have problems historically. Again, I mean, at least historically, I'm going to say in the Trent McDuffie era, which is not really historically, it's like 4 years. But they've struggled with teams that have multiple big receivers, because Trent McDuffie, I'd love it if I could get these numbers, parsed out, if like Next Gen Stats could do it for me or something. Trent McDuffie's numbers on receivers 5'11" and under versus receivers 6 foot and over, and maybe even like 6'2" and over, because it's just his kryptonite. Big receivers are his kryptonite. He is such a good corner, and he is really good corner in short space, close to the line of scrimmage. Probably the best corner in the league in run defense. There's so many things that he's good at. And if that receiver is under 6 feet tall, I'd put Trent McDuffie on him before anybody else in the league. But size is a problem. I mean, it's a legitimate problem, and he can make up for it. That's why, I mean, I say up to 6 feet he's okay, because I think his size, quickness, and smarts helps him account for and compensate a little bit for some height they may give up against some bigger guys, unless it's like a 6-foot stud. But you get 6'1", 6'4" guys like Dallas had, and you get some guys like, I think Texans have their 2 big guys are both 6'3" and 6'4". I mean, that can be a problem because it's one more than you can guard. And even Jalen's been struggling of late. Noel Williams is probably the guy I trust the most against a big receiver right now, and the Chiefs haven't been playing him a ton. I don't know Josh Williams was that guy at one point, and they've just lost complete faith and confidence in Josh Williams. Don't know why Najee Johnson. I mean, Nazee's not a huge guy, but why he hasn't been freed from injured reserve, I'm not entirely understanding. But we'll see. I agree. It was a tough game, Jimmy. It was a tough game for Trent. And Jesus, yes. How was the Thanksgiving spread? I did not have a lot of the Thanksgiving spread from the family. They had Thanksgiving without, because they were eating during the game, and it wasn't a lot that was cooked. They catered most of it, or got takeout and everything for it from the one of the grocery store meat markets. But apparently it was really good. I made myself some of my family Swiss steak that morning, so I really enjoyed that because it's kind of my comfort food. So I enjoyed that, but. I don't know what the great quote of "We're a ham family" was a Christmas creation a couple of years ago when I was on Sunday Sound Off with Mick Schaefer, talking about what our Christmas dinners were going to be. So we'll have ham at Christmas. I don't know how that's going to work out. I know they're actually moving family Christmas for me. So that I won't miss out. So they're not going to do Christmas without me, with the Chiefs playing on Christmas Day. So we'll do that Christmas Eve, I'm assuming, and everything. But yeah, so I didn't really cook anything, Jesus, for Thanksgiving this year, and didn't really eat a lot from the leftovers. So Swiss steak was, I guess, my Thanksgiving, and had some corn and some sweet potato fries. Love sweet potato fries in the air fryer. Those were great. Brian, is Nick ever coming back? Nick has told me he was going to listen to a little bit tonight, whether it was during the show or after. Maybe he's listening right now. I thought about stealing his tweet earlier, because he's basically Nick was doing Hy-Vee fines on Twitter without us, which I think is just totally inappropriate, because we deserve Hy-Vee fines here. You all deserve to get Hy-Vee fines first. Because he's out there tweeting about Dr. Pepper cherry and strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper being back on the market. I was really intrigued about the Sprite and tea. I did not know that was an option, but I was also very concerned that the Sprite with tea, which somebody says is really good, but it just says it's tea flavored and has no caffeine. How can it be tea if it doesn't have caffeine? It's just tea flavored. That concerns me. So I don't know if I should try it or not. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued, but I'm a little concerned. If it doesn't have caffeine, I don't know what it's going to do for me. So that's my problem. I mean, I drink tea and soda mostly to keep myself awake. So I'm going for that for the caffeine. So I don't know. But Nick has promised that if I ever, I think he said the number was 3. I thought it was 1 or 2, but I think he's now up to 3. If I can do 3 shows under an hour, he'll come back. He doesn't have a lot of confidence that I can go through. But I'm with you, Electro. I would love to be able to share with you his tonsil tickling thoughts as well. But I respect that. Nick's got free time. He's got a lot to do, and I get it. And dealing with me and my inability to keep my thoughts organized within less than 2 or 2.5 hours is problematic. So I love Nick. Nick's my brother. So anything that I say, I want you all to know I'm doing completely tongue in cheek, because I want you all to know what a great dude he is. He is. And I know I've said it before. When he comes on here, he's doing it in his free time on his day off. So he's the best. John, Mahomes has seemed more urgent in his comments than Reed has. Is there a disconnect between Pat and Andy on how the team is doing? Does Mahomes get fed up with Chiefs at some point and walk? I'll say on the last thing, there's no way. No, I think Patrick knows just how fortunate he is to be in a situation with Andy Reid. I don't think he would want to play in the NFL with anybody else. So I can't imagine anything ever getting sideways between those two sides, between the Chiefs and Patrick. I think the Chiefs would do anything at all cost to keep Patrick on the good side of things. And so, I mean, hey, if maybe that was one day doing something different, I mean, if he ever got sideways with Andy, I mean, it would be bad for Andy. I mean, Patrick's going to be the guy. But I haven't necessarily, detected the a disconnect necessarily. But I can see them coming back from different perspectives, because Patrick is in his role, and maybe what he sees as his job is to be the emotional leader of this team, and to be the team that's trying to drive them to be the best that they can on offense and lighting a fire under guys, all those things. Andy, at this point, obviously his picture is that he's trying to get this team to execute. He's trying to get them to stop making stupid mistakes and trying to get in their heads and do all of these things. So I think they're both trying to accomplish different things, but that's makes sense just because of the fact of what their jobs are. Andy's responsible for the entire team, entire organization, trying to fix everybody and get everybody on the same page. And Patrick's really only responsible for the offense. And, and he's supposed to be the rah-rah guy. I mean, Andy Reid's not necessarily the rah-rah guy. I mean, he's the steady force that kind of keeps everything going and makes sure that nobody panics, and is trying to keep these guys calm so that they play the right way and that they're not pressing and making mistakes. And if they're pressing and making mistakes, that's on Andy. That's the way he sees it. So and that's legit. I mean, I think it is too. So yeah, if there's a disconnect, that's the only thing I would say that I would think that it is if you're seeing it, is just because they got two different jobs and responsibilities. So I certainly don't see any daylight between them. I mean, no, I think Andy Reid is Patrick's ride or die, and vice versa. So Brian, is 11 quarters without a sack last in the NFL? I have to look it up, but pretty good chance it is. It's really up to 11 now. I know it's been, yeah, I guess it is. I know it was like close to 3 games without a sack, so 11 would make sense. Yeah, that's special, Brian. I'm not gonna lie. This pass rush has been ineffective. And Ryan, is Connor's 89% catch rate worst in the NFL? I believe you, Brian. I am going to double check it just to make sure. And I do know, I will say every once in a while, some of those numbers will vary from source to source, depending on who's doing the counting and everything. But it would help if I went to the right page. So let's go there and see what we've got as far as that catch. That seems really high. I'm not saying it's not right. And let's see. Pro Football Reference has Jamari Conner at 75%. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, different sources have different numbers. So somebody else may have 89%. Next Gen Stats is going to probably have a different number than Pro Football Focus. I mean, those 3 are probably the 3 top ones. And like I said, that would not surprise me if all 3 of them have different numbers for that kind of thing. But even at 89%, would that be the worst? No, there's probably somebody, depending on how many catches and how many targets you've had. I think Pro Football Focus, their like threshold is maybe like 25 for leaders in that kind of category. Let me see if I go. There we go. That's where it's hiding. How many? Jamari's 33 of 44 according to them. Let's see. Trent McDuffie's given up a 62%. Let's see. Drew Tranquil has a 92% completion percentage, apparently. His quarterback rating allowed is 136.1. And then you get guys like safeties get really picked on. Their numbers are always really bad on those plays because, sometimes when it's safeties, they're just the closest guy because somebody else blew their coverage. But they have Brian Cook at allowing a 77% rate and a completion percentage and 144.3 passer rating. Not ideal. I don't think Brian Cook's numbers are that bad, but for safeties, it's a little bit different too, like I said. So no, there's going to be some guys that are worse out there. I mean, like I said, if by one standard it's 89%, there's going to be some guys out there who've given up 90% or more. So probably especially for getting safeties. I mean, you got to consider Chamari a little bit of a safety because a lot of his test targets are going to come at safety too, not just as the slot corner. He plays both spots. So Joe, Patriots continue to win when Tom Brady was out for a season, but seems Chiefs players depend on Mahomes making all the perfect plays to win. I mean, and there's you're gonna have some arguments about this, Joe, and the comparison about the goatness of both, Tom and Patrick. And I mean, I said it when Tom was winning and before the Mahomes era started, and I mean, part of it, I might be biased just because I recognize the greatness of Tom Brady and what he's accomplished and what he's won. So there's no denying he's the GOAT. But his wins and what the Patriots were able to do. I mean, there was a stretch there, remember, where the Patriots were in between dynasties. And part of that was because they were winning the East every year because the best quarterback in the East was Mark freaking Sanchez. And there were some years where there wasn't even a quarterback as good as Mark Sanchez. There were plenty of years where the Patriots were the only team that made the playoffs in the East. I mean, right now, the Chiefs had a little bit of a down period there, but hey, as they were coming up, remember what was it in 2016? I think were they tied with the Raiders at 12-4, or they're both those. I mean, it was the Raiders finished 11-5. I feel like that the Chiefs just won the tiebreaker for the West at 12-4. I mean, there were some good teams. The Broncos, I know they kind of fell off a cliff after Manning's retirement in the Super Bowl, but hey, the Chargers have been up and down. They've had some really good teams. They've had some bad luck, but they've had some good years. And this year you've got two playoff teams in the West that the Chiefs are having to battle with. So I feel like that the Chiefs in the West, with some of the problems that they've had, the Chiefs have had a tougher division than Tom Brady had for 75% of his career. So there's a little bit of it. I mean, and some years, I mean, the Patriots just, cranked out 10-win seasons, and sometimes it was 10-6, win the East, and then, losing the wild card or the divisional round. So they had some years there for a while too, where it was, especially in that kind of dip era, and when the Patriots defense started declining a little bit after the undefeated season, and the Patriots defense started getting a little bit older and sort of transition. Guys like Mike Vrabel, got old and retired, and some of the other guys. I guess Vrabel would be better to say he left because he played with the Chiefs and another team or two after that. But their defense got old, and I mean it was Tom. So I mean that's one of the things is that this is the question. I mean, this is probably, let's face it, this is the beginning of the Mahomes dip era, the same dip that Brady had. So how long is it going to be? I mean, is it going to be 1 or 2 seasons? Is it going to be 3 seasons? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to give the Chiefs credit for, I think that they can bounce back from this pretty quickly, but you never know. I mean, we're going to see how they respond this offseason. Brian, 5 passes defended, 4 drew a flag for real. I mean, I haven't gone through to just specifically break that down. I mean, I know some others have and everything like this. I will say that there were some really soft flags in that game. That was the most critical, I think, that I have ever seen Andy Reid, not only after a game. I mean, he had a game a few years ago where he had a really sharp comment at the officials about one specific call. But this was like the most I think I've ever seen him on an officiating crew for just some really poor calls collectively. And he was still mad yesterday on Monday. So the fact that 4 days later he was still talking about it, pretty telling to me. Jesus, 5 minutes. It's like a world record. I can't believe I missed this time. The number popped up, so I can't fault the software. Can't fault it. It was here, so it was totally my fault. But those 5 minutes should have gotten you at least a couple of minutes earlier. But we did it, Jesus. I mean, I'm this is the best thing that happened to me all week is noticing your question. So, but will the Chiefs see Dameon Pierce this week? Again, I would be pretty surprised. I mean, this would still be a fairly quick turnaround. I mean, I guess it will maybe depend a little bit about where the Chiefs feel like that they are health-wise, how everybody came out of the Dallas game. It doesn't look like there was any issues with Pacheco or anybody else. I will say, I mean, if the Chiefs, I mean, if they're not going to play Brashard Smith, then they might as well give Dameon Pierce a chance. I mean, Brashard Smith is still, I think, their most electric kickoff returner. So if you want some big plays, you probably need Brashard Smith on game day to return kicks. And, you know, they've been giving Tyquan some chances. I think there's a reason why Tyquan's not the world's best kick returner. But he's faster than Nico, so I get it if you want to give that a try. And if you're going to put Tyquan and Brashard back there and Nico's down and you want a running back, I mean, I guess you can do that. That would be an option. I mean, if you're not going to have Brashard Smith returning kicks, there's no reason for him to be active. So maybe you do give Dameon Pierce a chance. I think it's just a tall ask. I mean, I know, Christian McCaffrey was traded on a Tuesday and played on a Sunday for the 49ers against the Chiefs a few years ago. So can guys do it? Yeah, but then again, Dameon Pierce isn't Christian McCaffrey. So no knock against the guy. It's just that's just two different skill sets and two different players. Picking up Andy Reid's offense is a lot. So I can understand, you know, the Chiefs don't want to quite go down that road yet. I wouldn't be stunned. I mean, and we don't know about Dameon Pierce. I mean, there's enough reason to have some questions about whether there's anything he can contribute or do for this team. I mean, obviously he's had a couple of down years, or at least progressingly down years, and not a ton of injuries. He didn't. The Texans walked away from him. They're a playoff team. Didn't feel like that he could bring anything to them. So there's a legitimate question about whether he's better than any other options that you have if you're the Chiefs. So they're going to they really didn't get to look at him a whole lot last week, which was 1 day of practice. This week, I understand 3 more days, at least get more of a legitimate look. Let's see. I'm not going to rule it out, Jesus. Maybe we'll get a better idea on Wednesday about whether that's a possibility. Might be Friday before we really get a good feel for it. But I would say at this point, I think wait a little bit longer. But like I said, if the Chiefs, if they're not going to play some of these other guys, they might as well give Pierce a chance. And it could also absolutely be impacted by, you know, what other needs do they have on game day. If they've got 2 other elevations that they need to make on game day, then, you know, you're not going to be bringing up a Dameon Pierce. So that could be a victim of that too. So Joe C. Simmons had to be a first round grade. Simmons is an interesting one because the Chiefs had a first round grade on him, but it was with the flag because of the injury. So, you know, were the Chiefs, I mean, if they had like the 15th pick in the first round, were they picking Josh Simmons? No, they were probably taking a different tackle. Because, you know, at that point, as comfortable as they were with Josh, I mean, there was a point where they would not have taken him in the first round, depending on how high their pick was. So they were in the great spot. And then obviously, you know, for the trade to happen. But I mean, the Chiefs they had a first round grade on Josh Simmons. But like I said, I don't think they were taking him in the top 20 or moving into the top 20 to get him because of that injury flag. And I don't know, maybe there were other reasons to have some flag concerns, and that has absolutely happened. There will be first round players that you've got a first round grade on. I mean, how could you have not have every team in the league should have had a first round grade on Tyreek Hill. The fact that you didn't have if you didn't have a first round grade on Tyreek Hill, I don't know what you were thinking, but nobody took him because they were absolutely terrified of the off the field issues. There were some teams that did not have Tyreek on their board. It's legitimate. That happens every year. So that there are players with such red flags that some teams, even though they may think that they're a first round player, they wouldn't take them if they were in the 7th round because they just don't want to deal with the headache. There were some teams like that with Tyreek, and obviously the Chiefs took him in the 5th round and had to have a press conference with the entire organization. Josh is not in that category. It's not the same thing. But, if you're the Chiefs, you're willing to take a risk at 32 that you wouldn't take at 15. And there were legitimately, I can tell you, there were teams in the NFL that did not have Josh Simmons on their board because they were not willing to take that risk at all. So, I mean, that just tells you a little bit about, hey, you might say that's why the NFL gets some things wrong. Yeah, but it's a business. If you're running a business, you got to sometimes make business decisions. And so there you go. Glad you're all having fun with the 6-7 thing. Jimmy's. Any Chiefs player has an open invitation to come onto the show as a guest, and I've thought about trying to do, and during the off season, maybe to do some shows like that. Unfortunately, if they're under contract with the Chiefs, I have to give the Chiefs approval, which is sometimes a pain in the neck. But I would love to do maybe some conversations like that. Maybe we could have a player sometimes maybe come in for a little bit. If I can talk somebody into coming in, I think I'd have a lot easier time maybe during the off season of getting some players, or during OTAs of maybe coming in for a live session and tell them that, we'll have the moderating of the questions. They're not going to let you guys just ask anything. If we get somebody on the show, I want it to be professional. So you're not just going to be able to ask, Chamari Connor, do you want Speed Spagnuolo fired or some crazy like that? So just telling you. But Jimmy's, any player has I know there's some guys who would absolutely gladly do it for me, but delay of an answer on that. So hey, let's give it a try. I'll give it a try, Jimmy's. I'm not turning it down. So like I said, anybody's listening right now, if you're a Chiefs player, you have an invitation to come on the show. So, and like I said, I'd love to get some on. So maybe we can make that work. Maybe we can make it happen. I've been thinking about it. I'm not, you have me questioning myself, Brian. Yeah, Brashard was the 7th, right? Come on. I'm not, I know, this, Brian, you play with my head sometimes. And I know Clyde was the 1st, but but Clyde was a 2nd round grade. And, and hey, the Chiefs, I know the Chiefs had higher than the 7th round grade on Brashard Smith. So, that's a great example of, once again, the players, especially on day 3, I have been told that there were some teams that had Brashard Smith as high as a 4. And hopefully I'm not freezing out here because my my web program is frozen. So hopefully I'm going to act like you all can still hear me, even though I have no control whatsoever of StreamYard at the present time. I can't see any comments or anything. Hopefully I'm not frozen. Let's see if I can get control. It looks like it's coming back to life again. So I'll just continue to talk about Brashard Smith. I've been told that there were teams that had a grade on him as high as the 4th round, and some teams that no grade that weren't interested. Maybe it would have been somebody they would sign as an undrafted free agent. But that's just how it goes. And so Clyde was a 1st round, but he was a 2nd round grade. I think that's where most teams generally had him. So I'm looking for where your question was, because I'm getting after the web browser freeze, everything got messed up there, Brian. Sorry. But because I know you were talking about the draft pick running backs and everything, but that's it. So, you kind of invest more resources than that. And I think that's when we're talking about Brett and his tendency to hold on to guys. Let's see. again, to some parts of these shows, just so you know how I mean, this encourages you, and why, you know, that some of you do a really good job sometimes of, you can game the system if you want to, because I get at the point in the show where there's so many comments and there's more comments than there are questions. So I'm looking for the question marks and what StreamYard thinks are questions. I'm glad somebody else is a Swiss steak fan. That's all I'm going to say. Mitchell, in your opinion, will the Chiefs coaches, coordinators who have failed the team, Tobe, Heck, Embry, be held accountable after the season? I mean, I think somebody's going to. I mean, Tobe, I don't think is necessarily untouchable, but I just don't think that Andy. I don't think they're at a point where Andy would be ready to make that move. And, you know, I think there's a couple of reasons for that. And one is that, I mean, there's a little bit of short memory to it, but special teams weren't terrible last year. So they've had some rough moments this year. It hasn't always been bad. I mean, it's been inconsistent. It's been the issue. So I don't know that there's a compelling case there yet after just one season to make a move. Dave Tobe's still very well respected, and, you know, and hey, let's face it, you know, he lost a couple of key players, you know, and that the coaches do consider that. I mean, when you do lose guys that are important part of your special teams, they do consider that. They're also going to consider that, by all accounts, he's got a good relationship with his specialist, especially your highest paid one, Harrison Butker, who's probably not going anywhere in the short period of time. So you want you want your coordinator to have good relationship with your highest paid players and your most productive players. So I don't know if there's going to be any move there. And, you know, and Embry, I mean, I get that, you know, I think there's still some residual, but you can build a compelling case that Connor Embry's outperformed expectations. You know, last year, that receiver room survived despite all the issues with the injuries and the problems, and they still somehow found a way to cobble it all together. I don't even know if the receiver room's been a problem this year. I mean, has it been? I mean, I get that they've, you know, hey, Rashee Rice has a drop here or there. That's not Connor Embry's fault. But they've kind of, again, survived and thrived despite injuries and despite some, you know, the suspension to Rashee. So I don't know. I mean, and there's the thing, and I sometimes I get influenced by this, is that when I know that coaches are better regarded in the building than maybe they are in public or by the fan base, that's certainly going to color my feedback and impression on them. I mean, if I know that the Chiefs are, you know, supportive of a coach, or they believe in this coach, or they believe in this player, whomever it may be, if the Chiefs are supportive of them and believe that, you know, there's more to that player or coach than what the fans' opinion may be, I mean, I'm going to reflect that in my thinking. So, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, my thoughts about Connor Embry, impressions about Connor Embry, come a lot more from, because I don't know. I'm not in there every day with him in the room. I don't know what's going on, but I do know what the players and the coaches say about Connor Embry, and there's a lot of great feedback that they like. They think the kid's got a bright future, and it may not even be as a wide receivers coach. Like I said, I mean, it could be that he transitions to another position. If you've got somebody that can come in and coach receivers, I think they got somebody right now in Todd Pinkston, like I said earlier. So maybe you just shuffle the coaching staff a little bit and get guys in different roles, and maybe you have somebody else come in a new spot. Like I said, I think they definitely need a new approach to developing running backs. I think they need a new approach to coaching and developing offensive line. We'll see what Andy Reid thinks about in the offseason, because this is the only one that matters. But I mean, like I said earlier, Mitchell, I think there's better than a 50-50 chance that there's turnover on this coaching staff, regardless of whether or not the Chiefs make the playoffs. I think that there will be an evaluation and reevaluation. Like I said, maybe there'll be some retirement. Maybe there'll be some coaches deciding to move on to new positions, do something different. You never know. Brad, where's Brad? Is Brad Childress officially retired now, Electro? I feel like he might be. I mean, it's never wrong to give Brad Childress a call. Chili's a good coach and a good dude, so can't avoid, you know, don't avoid those guys. Alex, do you think the Colts are vulnerable to fumble the wild card spot to the Chiefs? I feel like it's the most likely to happen. Got to win out. Yeah, and that's one thing we haven't really talked about a lot today. But the Chiefs. I mean, if you go through team by team and look at the other schedules, you're going to see that, and especially if you go look at the playoff predictors and everything that you can go through and you can pick the games and do all that stuff. There's obviously a few different places that do those, so you can choose your favorite. But the Chiefs, I mean, as much as we're talking about the Chiefs need to get to 11-6 to just avoid ending up in a tiebreaker situation where they're going to lose a lot of tiebreakers, especially if they don't beat Houston. They really need to beat Houston just to improve their tiebreaker situation. But there's a lot of other scenarios where the Chiefs get into the playoffs at 10-7 with one loss. Really hard to get them in there at 9-8, which, I mean, talking to somebody today, I mean, Soren Petro made the argument that a team at 9-8 may very well make the playoffs in the AFC because there's a lot of teams that have some questions and concerns. Hey, the Chargers, what's going to happen with Justin Herbert in his hand? I don't know. Houston been on a roll, but what if the Chiefs beat them and they kind of go off the roll? Pittsburgh, I don't know what to make of Pittsburgh. I don't know what they are. It's once again, somehow Mike Tomlin figures out a way to get 9-8 or better every single year. And I don't know how the freaking dude does it, but probably going to end up again there, even despite the fact that that team is not very good. We're talking about point differential. Those Steelers and the Chiefs are both 6-6. The Steelers have been outscored by their opponents by 8 points this year. The Chiefs have outscored their opponents by 73. There's only, there's 3 teams now that have a better scoring margin than the Chiefs in the AFC. The Patriots that are currently the 1 seed, the Colts that are the 6 seed, and Buffalo at the 7 seed. And Buffalo only has a 78-point margin. The Chiefs are at 73. So, but specifically to the Colts and that playoff scenario, the Colts have a whale of a schedule. I mean, they're at Jacksonville this week, at Seattle, going cross country, not ideal. The 49ers at home, Jacksonville at home, and then at Houston in week 18, which might be for a playoff spot. I've said all along, my feelings about the Colts when they were, at 7-1 and top of the AFC and everything, is that team reminds me a lot of the 2013 Chiefs that were 9-0. They're the Colts, and the Chiefs that year were a paper tiger, and the Colts are a paper tiger this year. Daniel Jones is not the real deal. So he's, I would say perfectly serviceable, but I think that's even a stretch. He's not a good quarterback. So, Daniel Jones, double-digit wins. It might still happen, but they've got a difficult schedule. They are going in the wrong direction. So, especially with their schedule, I certainly think that there's a possibility the Colts don't make the playoffs, especially because they're going to lose a tiebreaker to the Chiefs. And if they end up, if they end up tied with the Chiefs, Colts are probably not making the playoffs. That's unless they get to 11-6, and that's where the Chiefs are. That's going to be tough. So, Rick, I'm still off sucralose. Haven't jumped back on. I did consider today getting a drink that had it, but I thought, you know what? Nope. That's not going to happen. So I am still off the wagon. My brain fog is otherwise related, not sucrose related this week. Richard Seymour, I don't know if that was Jimmy's. I don't know if that was in the conversation of Patriots players who retired and they got average, or it could also have been in a conversation where if you have a big guy in the middle that's really, really good, it changes your team. But both. Answer was yes to both of those things. Let's see where we're going to. Jimmy's in your Jack Nicholson Joker quote. Rick, why do you think they're limiting Brashard Smith so much? The only thing that makes any sense whatsoever is that they still feel like he's too inexperienced and too green when it comes to running the offense and being patient in the backfield. He's still a little undersized. I mean, I know that if they're going to running between the tackles, they would probably love for Burchard to have some time to put on some strength and put on a little bit of muscle. Maybe that will happen during the offseason. Maybe, I mean, I've heard a lot of different conjecture. One would be that they bulk him up and make him a more legitimate running back going forward. There's also a consideration that maybe they move him to wide receiver in the offseason. I mean, there's a couple of different possibilities that would make sense to me. And I understand that, hey, if their thought process is that they decided that they were going to convert into wide receiver next year, one, I don't know why they wouldn't just go ahead and do it now, just get it over with. I mean, if all you're going to use him as is, maybe a niche player, a gadget player here and there, and as a kick returner, just go ahead and do it now, and and use someone in that running back spot that you feel is more productive. I mean, even if you're going to move into the running wide receiver group, I mean, you can still do that and still run him out of the backfield on occasion if you need to for screens or end arounds, reverses, whatever you want to do. I still feel like that based on what we saw in training camp, I still feel like that kid is underused and that there's still a lot that he could do. And when he's gotten the chance, I don't think that he's been bad. I mean, I'll understand it because we haven't gotten to see really any, handoffs in the backfield run between the tackles. Anytime he's gotten the ball in the backfield, I mean, the handful of times it's been on outside zone, outside runs, that kind of thing. So I get it. We have no gauge really whatsoever to know how patient he's being when it comes to interior runs. But all that being said, I mean, he is still one of the most electric type players on this team. This team needs electricity. I don't know why he's not getting opportunities. I mean, unless there's just something in practice that they're seeing that we don't, that just affects everything. It's been one of the more perplexing things that I've ever seen. But Mitchell, do you have any confidence that Andy will adapt his game plan to something that works and maintain it? Not me, never again. This was another conversation that I was having earlier today with someone. It was about, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Andy Reid's his offense has evolved a little bit over the years. Certainly, it evolved with going to Alex Smith. I mean, I guess you could even go back to the very beginning. I mean, it evolved as he had Donovan McNabb, and that was kind of Andy Reid's offense. And then when he brought in other quarterbacks after that, and had Michael Vicks and those guys, and I guess he had the first year Carson Wentz. I mean, you saw some evolution, and obviously, hey, getting Alex Smith, there was a big evolution. Putting in a lot of pistol concepts, some things that he had not run before. Stealing some things from Utah that Alex ran in college that made sense. When Patrick becomes his coach, he does the same thing. He evolves a little bit, but honestly, I mean, if you were watching Andy Reid's offense in 1999 and you're watching it now, you're going to say, "Oh yeah, that's Andy Reid's offense." It still feels like that you're getting an Andy Reid that still kind of builds a team to fit his offense rather than building an offense to fit his team, and for better or for worse. I mean, and Andy would probably disagree with that assessment, and maybe he's right, but it's just what it feels like from my perspective. I don't know about others. Maybe I'm on an island here. I don't know. But I mean, let's face it. If you're expecting Andy Reid to make substantial changes to what he does offensively and his concepts, I mean, probably going to be disappointed. But then again, there's a lot of guys around the league that use Andy Reid's concepts as the foundation of their own offenses. So it's not like it's the wrong thing to do. It's just, do you have the players to execute your vision? And just not sure if that has been the case this year. I'm just not sure if they've got that chemistry. Did I answer yours too quickly, Brian? I mean, I guess I'm trying to answer questions more quickly tonight. I'm trying to be efficient here. So, come on, give me a chance, Brian. Oh, let's see. Jimmy's, you and Brian crack me up. You all. I love the fact that you all have fun in the comments, and I love the fact that you're being nice. I don't see anybody. They're always very respectful people. I like that about our fans here. I love the fact that you are all great football fans who respect each other, and we don't have problems with weird comments and people getting out of line. So I know there's been occasions, and maybe those were just instigators that left, but I like the fact that we have a sophisticated discussion here. You all make that. So I don't know I can take any responsibility for that, but I will. I'm just proud of you all. So, and appreciate y'all. All right, now that I'm done with that, we'll go to the next question that I finally found. Michael, if Cliff Kingsbury was available next season, would you bring him in as offensive coordinator based on his past relationship with Mahomes? I'd consider Kingsbury for any job in my offense if Patrick Mahomes is my quarterback. I mean, by all accounts, there still looks like there's a really good relationship there. Whether he's quarterbacks coach, whether he's coordinator, pass game coordinator, I don't care. I'd consider it because Kingsbury, he's obviously a good offensive mind. He knows what he's doing. I'm not sure he's the greatest head coach in the world, so I don't know if I'd ever want to be my head coach. I say that, and that probably means that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the head coach of the Chiefs after Andy Reid. But I would consider it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that if I'm Andy Reid, I'm firing Matt Nagy to hire Cliff Kingsbury. But if you wanted to bring Andy Reid's one of the few dudes that you can't have too many chefs in the kitchen. I don't think that's the case. And if anything, like we were talking about with Luttrell earlier, and if you wanted to bring back Brad Childress, Andy Reid has at times had like real, brain trust around him. And, you think about those early years in Kansas City, Chili was the guy, and Doug Peterson was around, and, at that point you're grooming Matt Nagy, and you're bringing him along, but Childress is in the background. I mean, he was OC at first, right? And then Peterson, I think, was promoted alongside him. Then Chili moved up into a bigger title, and then Nagy was a co-coordinator. So, I mean, and remember at the time, they had Chris Ault, the former head coach from Nevada, who was here, really kind of helping them install all those pistol concepts and everything for Alex Smith. I mean, Andy Reid's not afraid to have a brain trust around him. So, I mean, if Cliff Kingsbury's available, I don't care. Hire him to do anything. And just come up with a fake title. I don't care what it is. Pay him a lot of money and let him come in here and work with Patrick. Wouldn't have any problems with that. And if there's something that he can absolutely bring in. And so, Brian, did the Chiefs grab Pierce as a running back or as a returner? I'll be honest, I haven't really heard much conversation about him as a returner. I'm looking to see what his numbers have been, because I haven't really looked at him that way, but it's worth consideration. So am I just being a fool here? Yeah, decent. Never returned a punt in the NFL, but 20 kickoff returns, pretty decent average. Had a return his rookie year. It hasn't been something that's been discussed, Brian, but that's interesting that you bring it up, because it would certainly be an easier way to get him onto the 53 if you're bringing him up with the idea that he is going to return kicks, and that's something you can do right now. I guess it's the question. You feel like if the speed and the explosion is there for him, so would not have any problems with that, Brian. That's a interesting idea. Maybe there's been a talk that I just haven't been a part of, but I haven't heard that discussion. But that's intriguing, especially since the Chiefs, they're still trying to find some electricity in the kick return game, and they could certainly use it. So maybe that's a possibility. I'm intrigued. Jesus, who can you see the Chiefs benching on defense, special teams, and defense? Maybe all three. There's nothing that's jumping out to me right now, Brian or Jesus, that really suggests to me that they're thinking about making any of those changes. If anything, I mean, obviously they got some injury problems that they've got to deal with. But I mean, are they going to bench Jalen Watson, or I mean, they're not benching Trent McDuffie? Is there a transition at linebacker? I mean, obviously we talked about the numbers earlier. Drew Tranquill has had kind of an up and down year, but I don't know that they necessarily are ready to go to the Jeff Bossa era. Maybe they are. Of course, I mean, Tranquill, they've been kind of rotating him off the field sometimes. I mean, maybe you leave Leo out there a little bit more, and Tranquill is the guy that does come off a little bit more. So I don't know. I mean, you're not going to take Chris Jones off. I don't see any evidence that they're really considering making any changes in the front four. They kind of have their group. I mean, and there's not anybody in kind of reserve. I mean, they've got some guys on the practice squad, but I don't really see any evidence that any of them are under consideration to get, bumped up. The only really possibilities on offense, would you could consider a Dameon Pierce? Would you ever consider giving more touches to Brashard Smith? I'm not sure if there's anything that really jumps out to me. I mean, in special teams, special teams, it's, you don't necessarily have anybody laying around that you're not using. There might be some fluctuations, but again, if you think about, I mean, some of the names that have been called as the most penalties. I mean, I know that like a Jack Cochran and, Cooper McDonald have had some flags. Josh Williams. I mean, Josh Williams is kind of in that interesting position because plays a lot of special teams when he plays, but he has been benched before. I mean, maybe that's a consideration. But the Chiefs are still trying to figure out who their third, fourth, and fifth best corners are. So obviously we're seeing more Kevin Knowles right now. Could you end up seeing more Kevin Knowles and Noel Williams and a lot less Christian Fulton than Josh Williams? Quite possibly. I mean, that's where I think that your rotations maybe in and out would be. I'm not certain I see any starting position that I really think is up in the air or in danger right now, Jesus. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't see anything right now that's really jumping out to me. Brother Rick with the super chat. Thank you, Rick. Sorry, I did not see that immediately. You had to wait a little bit longer than Jesus this week did, but not as much as Jesus has had to wait from time to time. So sorry about that, but appreciate the super chat as always. None of the previous NFL dynasties won their Super Bowls consecutively. Any word on VJ Thompson as well? Hey, you make a legitimate point. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, and even when I almost regretted when I said, the Chiefs are kind of in their dip right now, because their dip might be 1 year. I mean, and maybe it won't even be a year. I mean, maybe we're all in February just laughing ourselves silly because the Chiefs just won 9 games in a row and are NFL world champions. I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, I think it'd be a lot. There's some teams that if they won the Super Bowl right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in first place in their division. I would be more stunned if Jacksonville won the Super Bowl than I would be if the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, just crazy to me. I mean, the Chiefs getting hot isn't crazy. So maybe this this dynasty era is not over yet. Maybe it's just going to be like I said, maybe it's a 1 year skip. Maybe it's not even going to be that. Who knows? And I think you may have been the one that Rick that asked about BJ Thompson a week or two ago. I haven't had a chance to check in with his agent and see what he's up to yet. I will put that on my list for this week, so I can definitely give you an answer next week. But my understanding is that he's still been working out and everything like that. I think he's still hoping for a chance in the NFL. I mean, I don't know if he's gotten any tryouts or anything like that, but I'll track him down. I'll check out and track him down and see what's going on, because I think that would be a really interesting story, Rick. I appreciate you asking about that again. All right, let's see where we left off. I remember Luttrell's comment about Sprite Tea has a terrible color to it. I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, I've saw Nick's picture, but the package and everything, and so I didn't know it existed. But I could see that not being a great looking beverage. I mean, that does seem like something. I would assume you probably have to make it kind of look like tea, because if something looks like light tea, it kind of looks like a medical sample. So I'm not sure that's what we need. Oh my goodness, we're further along than I thought we were. So I suppose I should probably say it's time for last call. If anybody has some final questions to throw in here into the mix, since we're getting close to the end here. Man, and Rick, you might have actually been the next question up because I've missed you at first. Let's see, because I know we talked about Mitchell's question. Yeah, Sean, I mean, I think the same thing about Tobe. I mean, I feel like the special teams weren't a downside. They weren't a bad last year. So I'm not running off Dave Tobe yet. I mean, he's been a great special teams coach all these years. I'm sticking around with him. I'm not going anywhere. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're definitely further along than I thought. So, man, brother Rick, I for some reason I just missed your question and you super chatted it. I feel absolutely terrible, bud. Let's see. I mean, I found sometimes I just can't find Jesus's questions at all, and now I found it twice. Maybe I should answer it again and make up for all the times that I've hosed Jesus on the super chats. I guess we're caught up, unless there might be something I missed. So if you've got something I missed or you have any final thoughts, fire them away. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up here in a tidy 2 hours, a little bit less. Normal week. So Chiefs back at it on Wednesday with their media availability. Let me pull up the schedule. I'll be honest, I was assuming it's going to be a normal schedule. So Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid on Wednesday as usual, coordinators and Chris Jones on Thursday, Andy Reid and some select players on the podium on Friday. I'll be in the locker room trying to get some good stuff for you all during the week as well. So maybe we'll be able to get something that's a little bit different from what you're seeing on the podium and hearing from people. I'm the Brown. I like to look at patterns. When the Chiefs win a Super Bowl, they go back the next year. When they lose, they don't make it the following year. The next year, they go back to the Super Bowl. What do you think? I mean, it's sounding like it actually is making sense, right? I mean, they missed 21, 22, 23, 1. Lost in 24. I mean, if they didn't make it back in 25, it would fit with the pattern. And that's why, I mean, like I said, even though, I mean, we might not be in a dip. I mean, this might be a year that the Chiefs just don't make the playoffs. Maybe they don't maybe they don't make the Super Bowl. Maybe they don't make much noise. Doesn't mean next year couldn't be different. So I think you got a great point there. And Alex, wouldn't it be just great to see everyone saying we are done and we all of a sudden make the playoffs? I mean, if you're a big fan of the NFL scripted theory, you couldn't write a better script than that. I mean, that would definitely make everybody happy, right? NFL fans around the country would love that. But I tell you, I mean, that's the thing. This year, the NFL has been so unusual. Teams this year, there's no dominant team. And like I said, I mean, maybe here in 2 or 3 months, we're going to feel completely different about that. And we're going to say, oh, hey, wait a minute. This team won the last 8-9 games of the year and they were the dominant team and everything. I don't know. I mean, right now, this has been the most upside down year I can remember. And at least in my time covering the NFL, and even just being a fan, I don't remember there just being a year where, I mean, every team's got flaws. There's no perfect team, not even close to it. I mean, and obviously, I mean, is there a team that's going to go 15-2 like the Chiefs did last year? I mean, right now, I'm pulling up things so I can make sure I'm not talking out my behind or anything. I mean, yeah, New England's 11-2. Everybody in NFC has at least 3 losses. So, I mean, you feel like, especially because there's a lot of almost everybody has some tough games down the road because you're playing a lot of divisional games here at the end of the season. So you're going to get at least, I mean, every team should be probably playing at least like the first and second place teams in the division playing each other. I mean, obviously the Chiefs, I mean, they're going to be tough games for all three of the teams that they have left. I mean, if you're the Chargers and the Broncos, you get the Chiefs remaining on your schedule, and you're not excited about those games. Those are tough games. Going to be tough games for the Chiefs too. I mean, do I think that the Patriots are going to finish 15-2? You know, after being 11-2 right now. I mean, gosh, I didn't even realize they have a week 14 bye. I didn't know anybody still had a bye week left. How lucky for the Patriots. My goodness. Makes things even more amazing. But they got the Bills and the Ravens, you know, and that's, you know, Buffalo at home and then at the Ravens before they finish with the Jets and the Dolphins. So they should finish those two games and get wins there, unless, you know, they just set everybody out in week 15 or 18 rather. But I mean, nothing. That's why I'm leaving the door open, Alex. I'm not closing the door completely, because I mean, I've in my life, and especially covering this team, I have seen some stuff, and I have learned you never ever count this team out, because you just don't know what they're going to do. I know we had some more last minute questions. Yeah, Brian, is 2 hours fast enough to get Nick back? Nick will say no. So yeah, not going to be fast enough. If this was two shows, if I had done like this, a 1 hour on Tuesday and a 1 hour on Thursday, that would qualify. But no, not so much. Jesus, not sure if this was an old video, but I saw that Honey Badger may get a call to play. Not old. It was a video. I think it was an interview that Kay Adams did as part of Gambling Starting in Missouri week. Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, was in town because he is a spokesperson for one of the sports books. Apparently the advertising didn't keep, because I don't remember which one it is. I mean, I'm assuming it's like BetMGM or DraftKings, because those are the only two that have a partnership with the Chiefs, and they were doing it in conjunction with the Chiefs at the stadium at Arrowhead. So I'm assuming it's one of those two. I don't remember which one, so I guess they need to up their advertising. But I think she just asked him about if he would come out of retirement to come play, and he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll take the call. I'll do it." Don't think it's going to happen, but there you go. Anybody else with any more questions? Oh, you want electoral? Amazingly, no one has asked me for a prediction this week. Usually I get that first question of the week when I'm talking to Pat Strathman at ESPN Wichita, and Pat was, I think, on the road doing play-by-play this week. So for the Wichita State Shockers. So I did not get to ask that question today. Chance Lebo down in Wichita did not ask me. And I'll be honest, I haven't put a lot of thought into it yet. So I don't have a prediction yet, Luttrell. I mean, I usually by this point I do, because I have to have that one ready for Pat. I didn't have one ready today, which meant I was probably going to have to come up with one on the fly. I don't know. I'm gonna have to give this one some thought. I mean, again, Chiefs play nothing but one-score games, right? So it's going to be a one-score game where the Chiefs win by 10. Seems like the way that it goes. But I will say, I'm going to take the Chiefs to win. Maybe I'm going to feel stupid about that, because, you know, again, I've taken the Chiefs to win too many games this year. I just continue to get put into the position where it's like, well, you know, they've lost this game, they're bound to win the following week. I mean, this team just doesn't lose these games like this. I mean, Texans are going to be tough. There's no doubt. I mean, it's a tough team, but I'm going to bank on the home field advantage. I'm going to bank on a couple of extra days of rest, you know, giving this team a little bit of a break. Can't hurt, only helps usually. I'll give it. I mean, Jimmy's 26-18 Texans. Oh my goodness. You have no faith. You're definitely waiting for that 17th overall draft pick. I was thinking, Steve, it was looking like you were saying answer. Which question, Steve, was I not answering? If you let me know, I will be glad to answer before we get out of here. But otherwise, I was just going to say, get one more last question in. But yeah, Luttrell, I'm going to pick KC to win. Like I said, I may regret it later, but I just once again, I have a hard time picking against Patrick Mahomes in situations like this. And if the Chiefs lose this one, I'm definitely not taking them to beat the Chargers, and I'm not taking them to beat the Broncos. Looks like Brian's going for the Texans too. Man, yeah, the group here has lost faith. I get it. I get it. I'm just not ready to bet against this team yet. I mean, I just have seen them pull too much out in the past. So I'm not going to bet against them. As I said earlier today to Seren Petro over at 810, I'm not ready to bet for them. I'm just not ready to bet against them. But hey, we'll see what the week goes. Like I said, Wednesday, everything kicks off. So we'll be bringing you the coverage throughout the week. You also always check out Nick and everything that the team is doing over at KSHB 41 after the game, late game. So you'll probably find, if you're one of those night owls, you might find 41 is the mic, pop it up in your stream at like 4 a.m, because that's going to be late by the time that Nick and I, when we get done with all of our other commitments and get a chance to get together for the podcast, it's going to be late Sunday night or early Monday morning. But that's the great thing about the game being on KSHB 41. You get more of me and Nick in a couple of different places. So everybody have a great week. Appreciate, again, all the great questions. You are all the best. Thank you. The best fans on the interwebs, as I would like to say. Everybody have a great week. We will talk to you again. You'll hear from us on after the game on Sunday, and obviously come back next Tuesday. We'll see you then for another Q&A. Everybody have a great week. Take care.